Hello everyone, I'm André Teixeira and I'm here to present my work project in which I partner up with Refood. And Refood and the CEO and founder, Hunter Alder, approached me to use the VCW on their problem of how to attract volunteers to their central structure in Lisbon. This is the agenda for today. I will start with a brief explanation of volunteer and the VCW, then I'll move on to the study of Refood and its internal and external context. Then I will proceed to the actual 5 stages of the VCW and its application, and finally the major lessons learned and project output. As you may know, Refood is a non-profit organization based in Portugal that redistributes food to the people in need. And with the help of VCW, I was able to find 3 solutions that could potentially help them recruit those volunteers. A volunteer is a person that usually offers his services without remuneration, and there are 2 types of volunteers: the managed ones and spontaneous ones. The spontaneous are the ones that arise in circumstances of emergency, such as floods or earthquakes. So for this project, we'll only focus on the managed volunteers because they are the ones relevant. And the best proved ways to attract volunteers are word of mouth, direct approach, information sessions, and advertising. So Refood can choose either one or a combination of several to recruit the volunteers. The Value Creation Wheel is a highly customizable and flexible tool that allows to solve any type of problem for any type of company. From Fortune 500 companies to non-profit, which is the case, it's very customizable. And with that, we move on to the first stage, the Discover Value, where we clearly define the market problem and market space, as well as study a little bit about the organization and its context. And as I told you, Refood is a non-profit organization based in Portugal. They are 100% volunteer-based, and what they do is to collect the food from their food partners. They package the food and then redistribute to their beneficiaries, which are people in need. And they rely on values of inclusion, respect, and sustainability. Their main mission is to eliminate global hunger and global waste by involving all community in the process. As of right now, they have around 6,000 volunteers distributed in 54 nucleus. They also account with around 1,000 food sources that provide the food so they can feed the 3,500 beneficiaries. Their current business model, as I told you, is 100% not-for-profit. Their meals that they distribute are for free, and they operate under a model of small cost, high productivity. They only have small costs such as printing flyers, small marketing costs, and energy and bikes. The key partners and stakeholders, I will divide them into direct and indirect. The direct being the food partners, the volunteers and the beneficiaries, and the indirect being the government, the local communities, and the NGOs that end up benefiting as well with Refood's actions. The central structure is responsible for training and compliance and accounting of the local branches. And the local branches operate, they report to this central structure. And as of right now, they have 5 directors and 2 volunteers working in several functions, from IT to legal, from accounting to logistics and operations. And their goal is to recruit around 60 volunteers in the long run, so they can form several teams for each department and task. Internally, as I told you, it's 100% volunteer-based. It's something that they are very strict about it. It's part of their long-term vision. And there more nucleuses are about to be created, even overseas. Spain and France are on their way to have their first Refood center there. And then also a larger storage facility is meant to be implemented in the central structure. And the way it works, the local branches will pick up their food from that larger storage facility as they need. So all this reinforces the importance of a core, strong core, and the central structure needs to be operational. Externally, we see that nowadays volunteer is a trend, has become relevant for professional lives, and even companies have increased corporate social responsibility. They contribute not just money anymore, they also contribute with manpower. So these are definitely opportunities that Refood can and should capitalize on. However, we also have that there are a lot of NGOs being created right now, which increases volunteer dispersion. Here we have a small graph just showing that almost 50% of the volunteers are volunteering in the social services sector, which is the sector where Refood operates. So again, another huge opportunity for Refood. The market space, it's relatively broad, is every person willing to volunteer in Lisbon, and the problem is that Hunter contacted us to, with the help of VCW, hopefully solve, is to how to attract volunteers for the central structure in Lisbon. And why is this a problem? First of all, as I mentioned, the increased number of NGOs, which increases the volunteer dispersion. So a volunteer may leave Refood just because geographic convenience or because he identifies himself with another cause. Also, because the central structure is mostly office work, so it's less appealing to volunteer and do the same type of work that a person may do in his regular job, which leads me to another reason, which is the less visualization of impact. While in the local nucleuses we are collecting food or contacting with the beneficiaries, hearing their stories, here we don't have that, so we feel it's less visible, that difference being made. After having the problem clearly defined, we moved on to the second stage, the creation of value. And in a phase 2A, we created the solutions. And for the solutions, I conducted an online survey with Refood volunteers. I also did 2 brainstorming classes, one familiar with the VCW and another one not familiar with the VCW. And finally, I conducted an interview with a PhD student in the area and familiar with the VCW. I wanted to diversify my sources of ideas. That's why I contacted people from Refood, outside Refood, familiar with the VCW and not familiar with the VCW. And with that, I was able to get 55 possible solutions. The filters, the same. I wanted to diversify, so again, I contacted people from Refood, outside Refood, and familiar and not familiar with the VCW. I did the same 2 brainstorming classes, the same interview with a PhD student, but I also additionally contacted and interviewed 2 people with responsibilities in other non-profit organizations, so people that are used to manage and the day-to-day operations and the restraints that a non-profit organization faces. And I was able to get 27 filters out of this to be applied in the next stage. The third stage is the analysis stage, the validate value, where I met again with Hunter, so he could, out of the 55 solutions and 27 filters, he could select the ideas with the most potential and the filters that apply to Refood. And for the ideas, we got a short list of 8 ideas, and they are partnered with universities for extra credit. It could work as a workshop or extra credit. Also enlarge and redesign the central structure so it becomes more appealing for a volunteer to work there with larger responsibilities perhaps. Also to get celebrities to endorse the project and use unemployed people as volunteers. Again, it could work as a workshop and the unemployed people would have something for their CV to enrich their CV. Then associations, foundations, and online platforms, which consists in contacting and partner up with relevant associations and foundations and place online ads, as well as internal recruitment, which is simply sending an email for their mailing list, and finally local events and meetings to be set up in several areas, annually or biannually, and one of the topics will be the central structure. The filters, again, Hunter selected the 5 filters. And also here I additionally asked Hunter to rank them in accordance of importance to him and to Refood, and with no surprises, 100% volunteer based came in the number 1. It's a very important value for them. It's something that is part of their long-term vision, so with no surprise came in number 1. And with these filters and ideas were analyzed in the 4th stage, where we applied the value creation funnel to the ideas and the filters. And the way it worked, we had the 8 ideas, we applied the filter, the first filter, and then we got less ideas, and so on, and we were able to get the 3 solutions with the most potential. And those are the local events and meetings, and again, annual or biannually events, and one of the topics would be the central structure and advertise the open positions there. Also internal recruitment, Hunter sending an email to already volunteers, welcome anyone that wants to switch or even accumulate roles in the central structure. and associations, foundations, and online platforms, as I mentioned, partner up with relevant associations and foundations and place online ads for the open positions there. These ideas and these filters led me to the fifth stage, which was the implementation stage, where with the help of Hunter, we delineated a plan of action for those solutions. And the associations, foundations, and online platforms to be contacted are the following, and some of them are Bolsa de Voluntariado, Voluntariado.pt, Entreajuda, among many others. And I also use the 3M's methodology, man, minute, and money, in order to better delineate the plan of action. And in terms of the man, for the first idea of the internal recruitment, we just need Hunter to simply send the emails. For the local events and meetings, we will need a marketing team to promote the meetings. Also the local nucleuses to promote the meetings online in their social media pages, and Hunter to set up the meeting and reserve some room, etc. And for the third idea, associations, foundations, and platforms, we'll need a PR team to reach the associations and contact them and seal the partnership, and also an IT team to place the ads online and monitor them. As volunteers are coming in, we'll need one person to welcome them, assign them a team, and train them. In terms of the minute, the meetings, as I said, are supposed to happen annually or biannually. One in December and another one in June. The promotion of the meetings will be 1 month prior to the meetings. And the rest, the internal emails will be sent once every trimester. And the associations, foundations, and online platforms should be ongoing, not only refreshing the ads and refreshing the partnerships, renew and monitor them. And welcome volunteers and train them, of course, is ongoing as well. For the money, it's almost free. The only cost is small marketing costs. For the internal recruitment idea, it's just sending an email, so it's free. Also for the associations, it's free to place ads online and to contact the partnerships. The only marketing cost is in the local events in meetings, and is in the promotion of the meetings, just as printing flyers and distributed around the area where the meeting will take place. So it's the only marketing cost. It's a very economic strategy. The new renewed business model stays almost the same, completely not-for-profit. The costs will increase incrementally. The only main difference will be in the key partners, where the associations, foundations, and the online platforms that Refood will partner up will become relevant partners as well. Here we have a small video that illustrates the whole process and how things were done. As one hill closes, another ones will arise and new challenges will arise, so it's always important to anticipate them. And for the next challenges, I divide them into short-term and long-term challenges. The short-term challenges is to keep attracting volunteers by not only keep up with the local events and monitor the ads, but also renew partnerships, as well as training and coordinate the volunteers will be another important challenge ahead. The long-term challenges will be retaining mechanisms. Refood is very important that Refood creates retaining mechanisms for their volunteers, as well as the creation of a common platform such as Moodle to facilitate the interaction between Hunter, the nucleuses, and the volunteers, and any potential interest in creating another nucleuses. Finally, the project output and lessons learned. One major takeaway that I would highlight is that given financial restraints, which is the case for a lot of non-profit organizations, it's very important the importance of planning, and especially be flexible with that planning as well. And also, it's very important that the VCW team should be completely in line with the board of directors and keep frequent contact and share their vision and mission of the company. And if so, the VCW has everything to be successful. Thank you.